and welcome back to After Plague. We are working on my February reading wrap-up today, so I'm really excited to get into that. I think we're kind of just going to do a generic Valentine's Day-ish theme. If you'd like to skip directly to the reviews, you absolutely can, going to this timestamp, or you can check the chapters. I always add chapters in my video, so you can always skip right ahead if you would like. But per usual, we are going to be getting started on my reading tracker, book clubs, and TBR page. Starting off, you can see I already tabbed my February, so we're starting off right there. And I've done a little bit of sketching because I feel like I always get the months wrong, or at least I have been recently getting the calendar shape incorrect. And February was a weird one because it started on a Saturday, so it makes my little calendar look strange, just having one day of the week up separate from the rest. But I'm just gonna fill in this calendar here with the lines and dates, and then we can talk about when I was reading what book. So enjoy some time lapse set to some lovely lo-fi hip-hop beats, I think, probably. That's our calendar filled in. My pen interacted with the spiral, and so I've got a bit of a wiggly line in the center there, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna fill in when I was reading each book. Honestly, I think I read a lot of these books in one day, so this calendar is gonna look kind of blank. I also did not hit my reading goal for this month. I'm trying to read between 7 and 9 books each month, because that's what I need to read in order to hit my reading goal for the year, which is 100 books. This month was a busy month, I suppose, and so I only got 5 books done instead of 7. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of catching up in March. I will have you know, as I'm filming this in March. What have I done? I was saying March. I was saying March and writing murder. And I wrote a talent for March instead of a talent for murder. Oh my gosh. Let me stop talking for just a sec. Turns out I was extremely wrong about most of these books taking me one day to read. This is some of the longest time I've ever spent reading books ever. So that's good, I guess. So now we're gonna decorate this page. Let me show you what I've got decorations wise. You've seen this, sorry, there's glue on the back of it. You've seen this like little red checkerboard. Got some like red carnations. I've got some like little lips. Some more little lips. I've got some roses, of course. So we're doing kind of a generic Valentine's Day spread, but that's fine, because my one last year wasn't very generic Valentine's Day. Honestly, I kept it pretty light this month because I couldn't, for the life of me, actually think what I wanted to include. So I have a lot of roses, and I've got some like little lips and some of this like color pattern stuff. I don't think I have anything very flower-ish on these. They're more plants than flowers. Which I know flowers are plants, but come on, you know what I mean. Come on, what if I was just a flower denier? I'm like, flowers don't exist, don't be silly. Sorry if you can hear the AC in the background, by the way, it's hot outside today. It's hot, I live in Florida, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna do the same thing that I usually do, where I do like little bits of, I'll show you. Little bits of text here with some decoration here. And then we'll do this page secondarily. Take this little strippy too. Maybe we'll do like a piece going down the side here. Yes? Am I hearing yes? I think I'm hearing yes. Why is my desk already a mess? I just started. How'd this happen? Who came in here and messed up my desk? And don't say it was me, because even though that's true, it's hurtful, okay? Stamps. My ink's been running a little dry, by the way, so these stamps might turn out a little funky. But you know, a little bit of funkiness never hurt no one, right? Hiya. February. It does not look correct, but whatever. My brain is going, oh, you definitely spelled it wrong. And I'm like, no, I think that's how it's spelled. February. Am I crazy? Probably. I'm also using a different snipper, so if you notice that, it's because my other one is acting dull and I don't know how to sharpen it. Let's say I do some like tea stained paper underneath and then some of this like pattern and then this, and then off to the side here, maybe we could do a stamp. I like how this fills the space, so I think I am gonna put the carnation down there. The thing is, this area is really annoying to me. And I've had like areas like that in the past. Like if you look at the January one, you know, I filled it in with some texture, but this is a really wide area. And I don't really have anything that, you know, fits that area like extremely well. If I do this chunk, I'm gonna be using a good chunk of it, a good half of it. Let's come back to it. Let's do this bottom corner like I said I wanted to. Yeah, let's do that. It's covering up that title a little bit, but I'll draw it back on, so it's no worries. Also, don't mind the fact that I choked on that word so hard. I was having a little bit of trouble saying little bit. I mean, it happens. I don't really do second takes when I'm doing this. So you get a more authentic version of how I talk. Speaking of, if you want to talk to me more authentically, you can go to my live streams. They happen here on my YouTube channel, or they happen at twitch.tv/ oh my god, twitch.tv/afterplague. I guess this is just gonna be annoying because I can't get my god dang scissors where I want them to go. I actually do kind of want something there, but I don't know what. See, I've got some stamps. I'm wondering if I have any red stamps. This one's kind of nice. I just have to wind back up the longest piece of plastic known to mankind. This is like the worst way to do stickers. I have learned this is the worst way to do them, because then you don't use up all the stickers at the same pace. So if I want stickers that I use pretty often, I have to unwind this massive thing. I'm hoping I can get this done before Boyfie gets home, because I was dumb. I did all the parts that didn't require me talking first because I was like, oh, I'm not really in the mood to talk right now. That's what I sound like, by the way. That's my voice. So I did all the like reviews and parts that didn't require me to talk, and now I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be talking when Frenchie gets home. So now we've got some color in here, which is good. Hello, Rory. Hello. She is trying to climb up my leg. Yeah, so we'll do that. There is a fly harassing me. Something malfunctioned with my printer while I was printing this, by the way, so there are huge drops of ink on it. You can see where it bled through to the back. It just means that my nozzles need to be cleaned. I'm not surprised that they do need to be cleaned because I've been printing a lot of samples for my shop, which I should promote. I always feel so weird promoting my shop, but Frenchie will be like, oh, why didn't you promote your shop? I don't know why that's what his voice sounds like. I'm sorry, I think his voice is sexier than that. I don't know why that's my Frenchie voice. Anyway, shop promotion. It's afterplagueart.com. I have a domain now. It's not afterplagueart.shopify.com. It's actually afterplagueart.com. I know. It's so exciting and thrilling. I've got a whole bunch of stuff up on there right now. I've got some stickers, some bookmarks, some prints. You can buy some things in like a bundle to save a little bit of money if you like all three of the stickers and prints and such. And the bundles also come with an exclusive coloring page. So yeah, if you're interested in that, afterplagueart.com. It's also in the description. Honestly, let me know if you buy something. Sincerely and truly do, like, send me a pic of it and I will shout you out on my social medias, because it makes my absolute day when I see people getting my stuff and liking it. It makes me like actually giddy, like I'm gonna cry. So yeah, if you do end up getting some stuff, let me know and I'll give you a little shout out where I can. Well, I'm nervous. Doing the promotional stuff always makes me nervous. And it's not necessarily because like I don't think the products are good. I do think they're good. I actually think they're very good. Otherwise I wouldn't put them up on my website. I'm not the kind of person that's like, man, this is fine. I'll just shit it out, you know? I think they're very good. The problem is I get really nervous about the logistics of things. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know how to ship stuff. It's like, yeah, you do. You know how to ship stuff. You've shipped things before. You'll be fine. don't think we're looking too bad. I think I want like a stamp. What do I have that would look nice? I want to add something else here to like break up the space. Maybe this guy. I only have a couple of those, and I feel kind of weird putting two of them on the same page, but you know, what is life even for, if not for living life, you know? That was coherent. It's a decent little page. It'll do. That'll do. Now we gotta do our book clubs / TBR page. So in doing our book clubs, I'm gonna do the same pattern that I did last time. So it's gonna be Club Insomnia, Morbidly Curious. I know that one is Tremors in the Blood. Dark Resonance, which I think was I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and then Thrillers by the Book Club. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do a little bit of decoration underneath on this side. It's just like easy to kind of keep things not like repetitive, that's not the right word, but you know, similar. It allows me to create an almost template-like effect. That creates kind of an interesting little shape, right? Oh, my camera battery is about to die. If I cut off mid-sentence. So now we've got that little corner decorated. We're gonna fill in the rest of the data part of everything. And then we are going to decorate our TBR, and we should be good on this page. Excellent. So now that data is in, we gotta do our, like, did we attend the meetings? Yes, no. So this is if I attended the meetings, not if I read the books. And unfortunately, I attended 0 meetings. Even though I read all 4 books. It's fine, it's on me. It's on me. The thing is, I don't actually I didn't have a super steady TBR for February, which is probably part of the reason I read so little. I feel like I'm not giving myself a whole lot of space for genre, but who needs it? Am I right? Now I do actually need a marker. Hi-ya! Oh-ya! What do you think of this? I'm gonna use this one. We're already not looking too bad, so we just need to fill this in. I think basically the only things that are going to be on there are the book club books for the month. Was there anything else that was on my TBR for February? Sometimes I don't keep one, is the thing. Sometimes I just like look at my overall TBR and I see what's available at the library, and that's how I plan my month. So often there's not really an advanced plan. Sometimes there is. But I would say it's honestly, well, my markers, it's honestly pretty rare. So I think for this one, we'll probably just do the book club books. Oh, A Game in Yellow as well. I suppose I can put my other arc on there as well. I haven't read it yet, but I will. I actually don't remember what it's called. I do remember what it's called. I don't remember who the author is. Why did I say I don't remember what it's called? I just lied to you. I do actually have another one on my shelf now, but I didn't get that one until March, so I'm not gonna put that on my February TBR. I'm gonna put it on my March TBR, even though I'm not gonna read it in March. And you know how I know? It's because it's almost the end of March. I know I'm filming late. All right, I'm sorry. I get busy. If you're wondering what I was busy with, I released a video about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow recently, and that video took me 8 million years to make. So I would appreciate it if you haven't seen it, if you want to go check it out. You can do so in the iCard or on my most recent upload before this one. Jump scare. First of all, it's the next day. I was gonna finish recording last night, but I got too excited that Boyfie was home. And then I got hit with a sudden wave of fatigue and had to go to sleep. Also, I accidentally left my microphone on all last night. Whoops, I hope it doesn't die because I don't have backup batteries. So if my mic dies, we're screwed. We're going silent mode. Anyway, we're gonna finish decorating this page and then send you off into the reviews. Oh, I gotta get my brain re-engaged. Where am I? Where am I? I'm thinking maybe I'll use like this piece down here This page is always hard because there's always so much information on it, and I like don't want to lose too much of it. This I can't use any more of because I'm saving it for the collage page. So if you hear some jingle jangling, that's my little dangle dangle Robbie. Hello, Robbie. Hello. Oh, she grabbing my leg. She says, hi, mommy.
You want to say hello to the camera? Say, oh, hi. I'm just a baby. Look at this boy. Look at this little boy. There's a good boy. There's a good boy. Oh, she gave me a smooch. Come here.
I want to see if I can try and get her face on camera. Ooh, Robbie.
There you are. She says, that was a little scary, mommy. Mommy, that was scary. Why'd you hold me like that? That was a little scary. Oh, I feel bad.
to try and get her face on camera, I was holding her upside down. Robbie, if your papa saw you up here on the table, he'd be very mad at mommy. You can't be up here. She's sniffing my lights. You can see her shadowing coming. Come here, baby. Come here. Oh, that's my good girl. Is my workspace approved? Is my workspace Rory approved? Oh. What do you think? She says, Mommy, it is not Rory approved. Mwah. Good girl. Good girl. She was a little sassy, but she's still a very good girl. Aren't you? She's off doing her own thing now. She's like, Mommy, I did not enjoy that. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do along the side here is I'm definitely gonna do one of these flowers, but I wanna see if I have one that's like a little bit more rose looking or even like carnation looking. This one looks pretty carnation-y. This guy right here. And I think we're gonna do the stamp in red, not in that like usual brown color. This is starting to feel like something. Let's just start with that. Rory is throwing a tantrum because I made her get up on the table, apparently. She's absolutely throwing the tantrum of a lifetime. And then if we take the other one and we put it here, like that, and then we do an overlapping fleur here, like that, and then we do a stamp there. That should take care of the top half of this page, I think. That'll be good. You know, I was good for a while making TBRs. I had a list that I would do every month. I think it stopped because I got sick. And I was reading in bed and I couldn't add things to my TBR that was on my computer because it was too far away and I was too sick. So I should pick that habit back up, honestly. It'd be good for me. Look at how much of this shit I have to wind back. I'm gonna time lapse this. Da-da-da. Oh my god, that took forever. I think with that, this page is done. Hurrah! Huzzah, even. So that's the reading tracker pages. Now I'm going to send you off to the reviews. I really like how this turned out. I think it turned out really cute. I think it turned out how I hoped it would. It's definitely giving Valentine's, especially roses, I think is what it's giving. It's giving roses, except for these carnations. I don't think a carnation is a rose, okay? Anyway, enjoy the reviews. Welcome to the voiceover part of the video where I am going to give you all of my reviews for this month. Luckily, this section will be a little bit short. Luckily for me, this section will be a little bit shorter because I only read 5 books this month, starting with A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson. Martha Ratliff is a nerdy, mousy little archival librarian who thought that she would never find love, partially due to a curse that was placed upon her when she was younger. But then she met Alan, a charming, sweet man who married her quickly, leaving her feeling a little bit like she married a stranger. After a year, their marriage was good, except for some strange happenings. A blood streak on Alan's clothing,
and a few deaths at conferences he attended as a traveling salesman. Martha decides to investigate, and she contacts her friend Lily Kittner to help figure out what's really going on in her marriage. I have tried to read A Talent for Murder once in the past. It's come up now as a monthly pick for 2 different book clubs I'm a part of, so I finally decided to sit down and really give it a go. A Talent for Murder is kind of about Martha and kind of about Lily. Lily is an unusual woman. She's the daughter of a mystery writer who seems to have an uncanny ability to find and solve mysteries. Lily is also a killer, and she has no hang-ups about taking care of the men who deserve it. This book has an extraordinarily slow start. It's seriously super boring for maybe the first third, and that is why I have put it down in the past. I had nothing better to read this time, and so I put on my rain boots and slogged through the slow pacing and boring build-up. Martha is not very interesting as a character, and so reading from her perspective is not very interesting. I think Martha could have been much more compelling because she believes she's under a love curse. It would be more fun to read about a character who has little rituals and spiritual beliefs, but besides her belief in the curse, Martha is the most milquetoast white bread character I've ever read. The story starts to pick up a little bit when Lily is introduced. Her parts of the book are written in first person, while Martha's are written in third, so it became very clear to me that Martha was not actually the main character. I think with a little restructuring this could have worked, but it was a misstep to open the book on the most boring character. I was finally able to get truly engaged with the story when we started getting POVs from the killer's perspective. The relationship and cat and mouse game between Lily and the killer was fascinating. They both seem to have antisocial type personality disorders, with the killer reveling in his murders, and Lily being mostly apathetic to hers. Their conversations, and the tactical moves that Lily was making to stay alive, were the best parts of the story. The mystery itself is good, though it's not so much a traditional detective type story where you're looking for clues and trying to solve the murder because the killer is revealed early on. I would describe it almost more like a character study, but a little less in-depth. I was pretty fascinated with the psychology of the killer, but it could have been expanded in a more unique way. His motives were relatively stereotypical. The writing was fine, if a little dull at times, and I can't recall there being any notable atmosphere. There was some good tension at times near the climax, but it was an emotionally steady reading experience overall. I was a little worried about this being book 3 in a series when I picked it up, but the recurring characters and backstories are told in an unobtrusive way. I don't feel like I missed out on very much by not reading the other 2 books, mostly just the relationship dynamic between Lily and Henry, and I did still enjoy their dynamic even without the backstory. A Talent for Murder was fine. I would recommend it if you have the patience to wait for something to get good. If not, I think this would probably be a DNF for you. I gave A Talent for Murder 2.5 stars. Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist. In 1981, in a suburb in Sweden called Blackburg, the body of a teenage boy is found, emptied of his blood, and the murder is rumored to be part of a ritual killing. 12-year-old Oscar is hoping that revenge has come at long last for the bullying he endures at school, but the murder is not the most important thing on his mind. A new girl moved in next door. A girl who's never seen a Rubik's Cube before but can solve it in one try. There's something wrong with her, something odd, and she only comes out at night. Oh boy, I was majorly disappointed by this one. The ratings are so high, and it came highly recommended on social media. I cannot believe the hype for this book. Let the Right One In is about Oscar, a young boy who's had a hard life. He's bullied in school, he's dealing with his parents' divorce, and he has a lot of rage building inside of him. One day, a young girl appears on the playground and she introduces herself as Ellie. She's filthy and strange, but she quickly becomes Oscar's only friend in the world. A ritualistic killing takes the town's attention by storm, but could it have something to do with Ellie and her strange father? There is so much wrong with this book, it's a little bit difficult to know where to start. The novel is way too long. It's over 500 pages, and I think the author could have told a better, tighter story if they were forced to cut it down to 350. There is so much unnecessary fluff in this book, and to a point I can understand why. The author isn't just interested in telling a story, they want to expand their world beyond that story. But as a reader, I just don't care about anything outside of the main story between Oscar and Ellie. For example, Ellie is a vampire. It's extremely obvious from the very beginning of the book, and I'm not going to act like it's a spoiler. To feed, she needs to drink blood, but her venom will turn others into vampires if she doesn't kill them afterwards. So she kills a drunk guy who is leaving the bar alone. Easy, simple, not super relevant to the plot, right? wrong. We get to see all of this guy's drinking buddies, and they're basically a third of the story. They're a bunch of drunks, they're broke, irresponsible assholes. They're all given names and characteristics and backstories, and one of them wants to investigate the murder. So they go to another guy's house who saw the murder. This guy has an apartment full of sickly inbred cats. This apartment is described constantly of smelling like piss. The guy saw the murder but doesn't want to go to the police. There's another attack. One of them starts turning into a vampire. Blah, 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 blah. This goes on for hundreds of pages, and I do not care about these characters. Why do I need to know about the apartment full of inbred cats? Why is that included? Is it just to gross me out? You could cut the cats entirely from the story. You could cut this entire thing, and the only thing you would lose is some lore about what turning into a vampire is like. I thought it was going to lead to something like an outbreak and a city full of vampires because they wouldn't be able to control the spread. That would have been extremely cool, but no. I hated the entire story with Virginia and Locke and Larry and Morgan and whatever the cat guy's name was. It's so many unnecessary characters. I also hated every moment of reading from the perspective of Hakan. Believe it or not, I am actually okay with the fact that Hakan is a pedophile. Ellie is hundreds of years old, but still has the body and mind of a child. She, however, has the ability to make people love her or at the very least want to help her, and she utilizes Hakan's sick attraction to her to obtain blood. But why, seriously why, is there a whole chapter where Hakan goes to the city to hire a 12-year-old to assault? Why did I read that? Why was this kid described as having all of his teeth removed so he could give better oral sex? It's just for shock value. It's utterly ridiculous to think that this is necessary. There's also an explicit sexual assault scene against Ellie. It's horrible and hard to read and also unnecessary in my opinion. I also didn't care about anything having to do with Tommy and his stepfather. I liked Tommy's end. That was genuinely horrifying. But I don't think I need to read about Tommy sniffing glue or checking out porn magazines to get that point. I wish he had more of a relationship with Oscar and less I hate my religious stepdad garbage. It's not like his stepdad being a cop or religious was relevant or anything. Oscar's dad is just also not relevant. I understand the importance of building Oscar as a character, but he was already downtrodden enough without the chapters at his dad's place. Did his dad really have to be an alcoholic? He's already extremely severely bullied. How many struggles do you need to give this kid? I thought Oscar as a character was fine. I struggled a bit with the beginning of the story because Oscar's age was not defined for over 100 pages. The blurb says he's 12, and he does eventually say that in the text, but for a while I was trying to figure out how old this kid was. I think the bullying he's subjected to isn't unrealistic for the time period, though it is on the extreme end. His friendship with Ellie is the most interesting part of the story by far, and really the only part worth keeping in my opinion. Ellie is... I think something went a little wrong with conveying Ellie's actual ability set. Sometimes it seems like Ellie is inhumanly strong, but sometimes she can be defeated with a kick to the ribs. Sometimes it seems like she has compulsion powers, and sometimes it doesn't. She can shapeshift, but not entirely. I like that she actually subscribes to the classic vampire rule of needing to be invited inside. That's a point of vampire lore I often see disregarded in favor of making them more terrifying. Ellie also doesn't seem to have advanced durability, but does have advanced healing factor, which is kind of an odd combo. As far as her character goes, I thought she was fine. She's not malicious, just trying to survive, and it's not her fault that includes killing others. It was quite sad to see that she really was just a child, but also not a child at all. Her brain physically couldn't age, but she still obtained experience. It makes her seem more inhuman, which I liked. I don't really understand why there was a twist in regards to her character's gender. Genuinely, this might be a cultural thing, but functionally, it changed so little about the story. Oscar grappled with it a little bit, but honestly not in a very compelling way. I think it was just there to be shocking and uncomfortable yet again. How is it possible that there is still more wrong with this book? So around the middle of the story, there's a chapter that is not attached to anyone's perspective. At no point is there a name mentioned to tell us who is having these thoughts. Like, it doesn't say Oscar or Larry or whatever, so the only logical conclusion is that these are the author's thoughts in prose. It's extraordinarily racist towards Arabic and Middle Eastern people. It describes them as ugly and says that they have barbaric rituals. I was genuinely baffled. It's like 2 full pages of anti-Arabic racism. Shocking. Like, genuinely, I was stunned. The writing itself is pretty good. And the atmosphere is grimy, dingy, and hopeless, which is great. It's definitely the tone the author was going for. There is something good here, but it's like 150 pages of good writing and character development in a 500-page book. The actual horror elements were pretty effective, especially because they escalated as the book went on. From the acid melting someone's face to the murder at the morgue, these were truly well-described, scary, gross moments. I can appreciate that a horror book actually got under my skin for once. I do have some questions about Monster Hakan. I don't think he was a vampire, but maybe he was. He didn't seem to die in the way that a vampire would be able to, so I think he was something else. Ellie described him as a kind of unresting spirit, I think, but I don't really know what that meant, or what the limits of his ability or mental capacity were. Is this another Swedish monster that just wasn't explained for a foreign audience? I don't know. I can't, in good conscience, recommend this book. Maybe if you're a really desensitized horror fan. Not even really then, it's too long. Also, this is just like a fun thing to note, but a ton of the reviews for this book are like, take that, Stephanie Myers, this is how you write a vampire book. Grow up. You are a grown-ass adult shitting on a young adult vampire romance. They are entirely different genres. They are two entirely different demographics. You want 13-year-olds to be reading this extremely violent, sexually graphic book instead of Twilight? Get real. I'm not saying Twilight is the best book ever, but different books are for different people, and Twilight didn't stop other authors from being able to write about vampires. It was the most annoying thing to see all of the top-rated reviews for this book like, this is how you write a vampire novel, not those sparkly crap. It's like, shut up. I hate you. I would also like to give some trigger warnings for this book, just in case you do want to read it. This will let you know what you're getting into, okay? Just listen up for a second. Major trigger warnings for this book include sexual assault, pedophilia, rape, drug usage, alcohol and alcoholism, animal death and abuse, bullying, gore, child death, racism, self-harm, suicide, and human trafficking. Wow, be warned. I'm 100% serious. Like, this book has basically every trigger warning you can imagine. I gave Let the Right One In 1.5 stars. A Game in Yellow by Haley Piper. Thank you to Saga Press and NetGalley for the advanced reader copy. Carmen and Blanca have been in a bit of a rut recently. Carmen can't seem to get her head in the game when it comes to kinky activities. Until Blanca discovers Smoke in an underground club who holds some pages to a strange play, The King in Yellow. If you read too much, you'll fall into madness, but read just a little and pull back, and it gives survivor's euphoria, leading Carmen to fall into a game of lust at a nightmare's edge. I think that this is a difficult book to review. I have not read The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers, so it's difficult for me to tell where his influence ends and Haley Piper's creativity begins. So A Game in Yellow is about a couple, Carmen and Blanca, who can't seem to get in sync sexually. Carmen has been asking for more and more intense, dangerous scenarios, but nothing is scratching that itch. Blanca finally suggests they go see a woman named Smoke, who has a mysterious play that when read makes you feel such a surge of adrenaline, it might be able to kick Carmen's drive into gear. The King in Yellow is a pretty famous staple of the cosmic horror genre, and it's a shame I haven't read it. I've experienced other media that reference the novel, specifically Sucker for Love, the cosmic horror dating game. Don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. I'm not as familiar with the lore and story as I would have liked to be for this reading experience because there is some really interesting lore here. I just don't know if I can give Piper the credit for it. In a way, A Game in Yellow parallels The King in Yellow because neither of these books, neither of these stories are really about the play. Instead, they're about how the play affects the minds of those who read it. Smoke controls how much Carmen can read the play, but it's almost like an addictive drug. Carmen constantly craves more, even though she's been told and shown that it's incredibly dangerous to get too sucked in. A Game in Yellow is also a cosmic horror novel, so it's not interested in explaining anything to the reader. Usually, I wouldn't find this too frustrating, but I think because there's so much world building within the world of the play, it becomes a little bit more irritating as a reader. I'm trying to keep track of and understand so many unusual names and places that I can't entirely focus on Carmen's descent into madness. There's multiple cities, Carcosa, Yatil, Hastur, and the reader is never really given context for any of them. All I know is that Carcosa is like the big one, I guess. The writing style within the play sections is also quite dense and metaphorical. It's a well-done stylistic choice, separating the simple world that Carmen knows from the complex, obfuscated world of the masquerade. But it doesn't help the reader gain any understanding. The way that the play is different from that of The King in Yellow is also notable. The story of the play is about a masquerade where a stranger in a golden mask is discussed amongst the crowds. In the end, he's revealed to be the King in Yellow. This isn't where A Game in Yellow chooses to take its stranger, and I did find that compelling. The climax of the book is insanely confusing, but it does lead to an interesting reveal and the best horror of the whole book. The last few pages are fascinating and horrifying. It's just really quite a shame that there wasn't more before that point. The horror is more psychological, but the progression from tense, insanity-based horror to real, visceral horror could have been smoother. The sexual aspect of this book is something. I don't think the sex is poorly written, and I think it serves its function well throughout the story. This is a book largely about sex and sexuality, but I think if there were a point being made, I missed it. Carmen and Blanca are in a BDSM relationship where Carmen is the sub and Blanca is the dom. There's a lot said about how Carmen is actually the one in control of their relationship, and I'm just not quite sure what the point of this was. I think the author might have been trying to make a point about how Carmen is manipulative, or maybe how she has issues with control. Perhaps this was the root of her sexual dysfunction. She also had an incident in her past that she's blocked out of her mind with a girl named Asia. But I didn't understand the importance of this event. It's really built up, and what I gleaned from the event was that Carmen was a coward. Is that what I'm supposed to take from her character? Blanca is also a confusing character. The issue with Blanca is that she's too in control, and her backstory makes the reader understand why. I'm just not sure what that means for their relationship. I think the primary issue is that these character-based moments feel unresolved. They're coming to a head at the same time that the more horror-based elements are coming to a head. So as a reader, I was much more focused on the horror than the character. Is Blanca's relationship with Smoke a result of Blanca's character flaws or Carmen's? All of the characters, motivations, and relationships are so incredibly confused that it made reading about them unengaging. I didn't really care about Blanca and Carmen's relationship, and that's really unfortunate because I know that part was Piper's doing, not Chambers. There's also generally no resolution to Carmen's co-workers. Carmen, under the influence of the play, involves a large group of people in reading the play. It was explained to us that the play can cause a wide variety of reactions in people. It can cause them to harm others or themselves, or it can cause larger societal swings. It can form cults or dictators, and with so many different people exposed to the effects of the play, I was hoping to see some stirrings of something greater, and so I was a bit disappointed. There is something good here. Something. The twin suns, the black eyes portal, it's super compelling. The yellow sign is so interesting. The carnage the play can cause, not just physical carnage, but societal carnage, is fascinating. The two acts of the play having different powers, and the fact that the play can self-replicate and tune into its reader is amazing. The Golden City, the stranger, the masquerade, but is this Piper or is this Chambers? I don't know if I can give her credit for all of the things I enjoyed. I would actually recommend A Game in Yellow, but only because I think it's an interesting talking point, not necessarily because I think it's a good book. The writing is fine, though it's clear that Piper is a talented writer. The stark stylistic differences between the novel style and the play style are a testament to that. The atmosphere is compelling at times, and minimal at others. If it sounds interesting, give it a shot, but keep your expectations in line. A Game in Yellow releases on August 12th, 2025. I gave A Game in Yellow 2 stars. Tell Me What You Did by Carter Wilson. Poe Webb is the host of an extremely popular true crime podcast. She invites people to anonymously confess to crimes they've committed in front of her audience, though she can't guarantee that the police won't come after her guests. However, when a strange, oddly familiar man appears on her show, Poe is forced to take a second look, not only because he claims to be her mother's murderer from years ago, but because Poe knows something no one else does. Her mother's murderer is dead. Poe is the one who killed him. Tell Me What You Did was a pleasant surprise for me. It wasn't a book that was really on my radar at all, and I hadn't heard anything about it on social media. It was my book club's pick of the month, and it came in from the library at a time when I wasn't reading anything else, so why not? I had a really good time reading this book. Tell Me What You Did is about true crime podcaster Poe Webb, but her show is a bit different from other true crime shows. Instead of reporting on cases that have previously been known to the public, she invites people on her show to confess their crimes to her and her audience anonymously. She's grown quite successful with this format, but her safety is thrown into question when the guest on her show confesses to being the man who murdered her mother. I think something this book does very correct is pacing the story in an intriguing way. We have chapters that are taking place in the current time, but they're interspersed with a transcript of a recording that was taking place a few weeks into the future. In that timeline, everything has totally gone to shit. Poe is being forced to confess to a murder she committed, the murder of her mother's killer, under threat to harm a hostage. There's enough told here to pique curiosity without giving away too much. For example, we learn that the hostage is male, but not who it is exactly. It could be Poe's father, her boyfriend manager Kip. It could even be the kind police officer that helps her out later in the story. It makes it so that at any time, everyone around Poe feels like they're in danger, and it increases the tension immensely. On the negative side, I do actually think that constant tension becomes a little bit repetitive in the way that it affects Poe. She's stressed and she drinks. That's quite a large portion of how she reacts to the situation. And I don't think that's unrealistic. It's just not the most fun to read about how Poe is getting blackout drunk for the 10th time in a row. The author did need to show how this stress was affecting her, but choosing the same way to show that over and over wasn't the best call in my opinion. I liked all the characters. Poe had some depth and facets to her personality that I quite enjoyed. Having her as a victim of a crime become a true crime podcaster is an interesting exploration of how her trauma affected her. There are points in the book where it's described why Poe does her podcast, and I found her reasoning to be believable and compelling. Poe is also a little bit cold. She herself committed a murder in which she feels entirely justified, and if given the same choice, would commit again. I think it's a good point for her character that she doesn't regret the killing, and only thinks about it anxiously within the context of being caught by the authorities and going to prison. Poe's relationship with Kip was also something I enjoyed. The dynamic of her keeping so many secrets and Kip basically being a human lie detector was fun. I wish we got to see a little bit more of Kip, though, because once the story really gets going, Poe confides in and seeks solace from her dad a little more than Kip. I was expecting a little bit more of a twist in this story, and there really wasn't. I kept expecting Kip or Poe's dad to have somehow been involved in the crime, but the mystery is much more straightforward than that. I didn't really mind that because the author did quite a good job at building the tension and making Hindley seem like an omnipresent threat. It's more of a thriller than a mystery thriller. Again, that's fine, I just don't see it as often. It was interesting. Hindley as a character is an interesting threat. I liked the mystery surrounding his identity and the doubt he makes Poe feel about her murder in New York. I enjoyed his description, and I especially enjoyed the way in which he absolutely required control and would blow up if things weren't going exactly as he planned. It made him feel like a double threat. Hindley was calculating and well planned, but he could fly off the handle and commit acts of violence at the drop of a hat. The resolution for the mystery surrounding him also made a ton of sense and explained away all the clues and hints. I always appreciate it when an author can nail the answers. The writing was well done, and the atmosphere was super tense and jumpy. Stalker stories always make me uncomfortable, and this one did a great job on playing on all those fears. I read this as an ebook, and there was a bit of a gimmick where some of the chapters ended with a link to a video. I watched one or two, but I generally didn't enjoy them that much, and I didn't think they really added anything to the story. So if you're reading this as like a physical book and you don't have those links, don't feel like you're missing out. I would recommend Tell Me What You Did if you're in the mood for a tense thriller. I had a great time, and I found it to be a very easy read. I gave Tell Me What You Did 4 stars. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This book is difficult to give a synopsis for, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to give you a synopsis. Even the blurb on Goodreads does not give you a synopsis. I'm gonna do my best, okay? But I might just jump right into my review, because I'm gonna spoil some stuff because I have to, so if you're missing the synopsis at the beginning, I don't know what to tell you. I guess go read the Goodreads blurb. I'm sorry. It's basically just some of the text from the book. I'm baffled that it seems like so many people enjoyed this book. I swear, this is like the 5th highly recommended book I've read where I've totally missed the hype. I'm also genuinely confused about how they could have possibly made this book into a movie. They had to have changed so much about it. As stated, I'm gonna spoil stuff. I'm sorry. If it's any consolation, I think this book is bad and you're not missing out by listening to me instead of reading it. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is told from the perspective of an unnamed female narrator. She's thinking about breaking up with her boyfriend Jake, even though he's a pretty perfect guy. He's handsome and intelligent with a job as a research scientist in a laboratory. The couple is on their way to have dinner with Jake's family, and the woman is thinking about whether or not the relationship has run its course. So much of this book is a single car ride. It's possible to make something like that interesting, and I was willing to give the novella the benefit of the doubt. Some of the conversation during the road trip does pose some good questions that allow the characters to engage in deeper character building discussions. These conversations do confirm that Jake is an intelligent person, and it allows the narrator to delve deeper into her feelings about their relationship. She ponders whether their love is more valuable than being alone, even if she enjoys the solitude and routine that comes with being isolated. I don't mind these conversations, and I think there's a way to make it work. It's just, it doesn't stop. The conversation keeps going and going and going and going. I kept waiting for anything to happen, and instead I was subjected to endless pondering, endless philosophizing. I started to feel like I was at a party, sober, while the people around me were high off their asses and trying to be deep. It started to feel try-hard and cringy and embarrassing. The author tried to tie the idea of relationships to the expansion of the universe or something. It's just pretentious to the point of meaninglessness. I had hopes at the beginning. There's some good tension with the narrator having this stalker, the caller. This mysterious person calls her, sometimes a dozen times in one night, and always repeats the same few sentences. I thought this was going somewhere. I had theories of how it could be tied to Jake and his family. It goes pretty much nowhere and left me completely disappointed. There's a fly in my room. Hi-ya! I tried to murder him. When the couple finally arrives at the farmhouse, there's some attempt at atmosphere. It's pretty effective. The farmhouse is a creepy place, and there are some creepy elements like dead frozen lambs and a story about pigs that were eaten alive by maggots. Again, my hopes started to build that after an agonizingly slow start, I would finally get something like a creepy horror story. Imagine my disappointment, again, when nothing that happens in the farmhouse makes any sense, is frightening at all, or leads to anything. Jake's mom and dad are off, which is good. It adds to the feeling of wrongness, but it kind of just feels like they're weird for the sake of the genre. I think that's my problem with a lot of the farm section. Because there isn't really a central plot going on, none of the creepy moments feel grounded. It feels a bit like I'm walking through a haunted house. Oh, there's dead livestock. Ah, creepy basement. Ooh, a mysterious painting. However, none of it is tied together through the narrative. I'm okay with horror cliches. They're cliches for a reason. But because the story is not trying to tell the type of narrative that would truly utilize these cliches, it's nothing but meaningless window dressing. Finally, our characters leave the house, having learned nothing, and progress the plot exactly 0%. A blizzard is starting, so the narrator would like to get home quickly. She's more convinced than ever that she wants to end things. I'd like to note as well that this phrasing is always how it's written. Ending things. I understand why, but it did make the reading experience a little more awkward. Most people, when thinking about or talking about ending their relationship, will vary up their vocabulary. This author doesn't, because this is supposed to be sort of a twist or double entendre. I don't think it's particularly clever because I saw right through it. Sorry. Anyway, in the middle of this blizzard, Jake decides he wants to stop at Dairy Queen and get dessert. This entire scene is super pointless. It's supposed to give you some more hints about the ultimate twist, but in practicality, the action is the couple gets frozen lemonades at the end. So they leave the Dairy Queen, and they start their drive home. Again, Jake decides to pull into his old school to throw away their cups, even though there is literally no reason to do this. He and the narrator start making out in the car when Jake sees a man watching them from the window and flies into an incensed rage. He sprints out of the car to go into the school to confront this guy, and after a while, the narrator follows. I was completely checked out at this point. I hated Jake as a character, and none of his actions made any sense to me. I understood what the twist was at this point, and I just didn't care. I didn't understand the narrator's actions either. Why would she be willing to have sex with Jake in a car in front of his old school in the middle of a blizzard when all she has been talking about is how much she wants to go home? In the school, the narrator is stalked by the custodian, but then she realizes it's just Jake and he's trying to psychologically torture her. Then she realizes she is Jake. Ta-da! The twist. This entire story was told from the point of view of Jake imagining the point of view of a girl he's dating who doesn't really exist. It's difficult to tell at this point if anything that we saw happen actually happened. I'm willing to believe at least that Jake did go to dinner with his parents, and that part of the reason that they were behaving so strangely is that Jake was in the middle of a schizophrenic episode. Jake is also imagining the caller. He's the custodian at the school. This is where he works. Anyway, he crawls into a closet and stabs himself in the throat with a hanger, ending things. Yeah, that's the double entendre. I thought that was the point from the beginning, but apparently I am crazy for thinking of suicide instead of a breakup. Sorry. The twist straight up pissed me off. I knew that there was going to be a hallucinations twist just based off the way the narrator was experiencing things, but the fact that she didn't really exist was just too much for me. It made a huge portion of the book that was just the conversation in the car, retrospectively extremely annoying. It's just Jake thinking about himself as the perfect man and still being self-hating towards himself anyway. He literally thinks about how attracted to him this imaginary girl is, and how even though he's perfect, they're just not gonna work out. It's bonkers, dude. I can't believe I wasted my time on this. I can't believe how many people I've heard say they love this book. I can't believe I hadn't heard a single negative review. This is so baffling. God, what else is there to say? I know this is just a novella, but I wish I could get my wasted hours back. Terrible. Seriously. I gave I'm Thinking of Ending Things half a star. And on that positive note, I'll send you back to me in the past. Past me, what are we doing now? Take it away.
Only a few pages left. We've got our collage section, and then we have our stats pages, which I'm very excited to do. Collage page, we're gonna keep it pretty standard. We're gonna have some nice plaid up here. I've got this that can go like down here, or even like down here. I've got some text, obviously. Where is that other lips? I've got these left. A nice simple image. And then we'll put our title here, do a little bit of decoration in this corner, down at the bottom. I've got a nice big rose that I can use to probably fill out one of these corners. Maybe this one, that's kind of opposite. It's sticking to my fingers. Why did nobody tell me that this glue was sticky? What the heck? Somebody should have warned me. We're getting some space filled in here. It's going nice and quick, which I like. I am not really gonna have any scraps left over for the stats page. I knew that when I was printing this out, I was going like a little light on supplies, but I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't find anything where I was like, oh yeah, this is cool and unique. I was having a little bit of scrapbooker's block, I guess. F for February. E for Ebuary. What if I did that for every letter? Now we just gotta fill in this bottom corner of the page, and our collage will be good to go. Easy peasy. I think I wanna do like a big chunk of text down here, like this. Adding these to the bottom so I can pull them off when I need to. I think adding some green would actually be really good for this. It gives it a little bit of variety. Maybe a little chunk of like tea-stained paper in the corner. Do I have one that has like an interesting pattern? I don't like that. Get it out of here. I think that's February just about done. I think it looks pretty good. The only other thing I could think to do is maybe, sorry, February's collage page just about done. I still have to do the stats page. The only thing I could really think that maybe I want to add is like a stamp. It's a pretty simple collage, all things considered, but I really didn't cut out that much stuff for it. It looks pretty much in line with the last one, so I'm not that mad. I think it looks fine. Last up is our stats page. Oh, I gotta change my battery first though. I actually don't know what to do about that because usually I would put this battery on to charge, but last night my charger was smelling a little bit like smoke. Frenchie came home and he was like, it smells like smoke in here, like nervous, panicked. And so we went on a little smoke scavenger hunt and found out that it was my battery pack charger that was smelling like smoke. I think there's just a wire that burnt out inside of it, but that does mean that it might catch on fire. So hopefully the batteries I charged yesterday are enough to get me to the end and I can buy a new charger. But yeah, stat page. I'm back. I had to take a quick break to put on lunch, to put dinner in the slow cooker actually. And now my whole house smells like gochujang. Is that how you say it? that really nice like Korean chili paste. So for those who might be new, what we put on the stats page are books read, pages read, then the average length per book. Then we do our genre breakdown, book format, and
where I got the books from. I only read 5 books this month. That's probably gonna average out around like 1,700 pages, maybe 1,500. I do end up borrowing a lot of books. I don't, this is like, I don't know if it's like accurate to say, this is kind of a weird thing about me, because it's not weird. I don't buy a lot of books, partially because like I'm in an apartment building and I'm eventually going to be moving out of that apartment building. Packing books sucks. I would like to have a bit more of like a personal library, but also I strongly believe in supporting libraries. So we got books read, pages read. Books read is gonna be easy. It's only 5. According to Google, stop it! Don't talk to me! Leave me alone! Leave me alone! That feels like a lot. I don't feel like I read that much, but Let the Right One In was over 500 pages long, and Tell Me What You Did was over 400. So those two alone are clocking 1,000. So I guess I'm not surprised that the other ones are... Oh God, I have to ask Google again, and I feel bad because I yelled at her. Okay, Google, what is 1,726 divided by 5? So our average length is going to be 345. Ugh. That's stuck to my finger. Get off of me! A bit of a pain in the ass part of doing the stats page is always that like I have to do a million stamps. I think this page is coming along. It's just coming along slow because every decision I make, I'm like, maybe, you know? There's not a lot of confidence in the decisions being made here. This is our first stats page done. We did 5 books read this month, 1,726 pages with an average length of 345 pages. I read mostly horror and thriller books this month. I did read one that was technically literary fiction and one that was technically fantasy. I say that because they were both horror books, they just had other elements in them. I read 5 ebooks this month, and I got 3 of my books from the library. I borrowed one from a friend, and I got one as an ARC from NetGalley. So now we are on our last page here. And then we'll do the beginning pages of the book, you know, like my challenge pages, I guess is how I'm going to describe them. So what we do on this page is we do our best and worst of the month. Best was Tell Me What You Did, and worst was I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Then I also have my star ratings, right here, and then we do a note section at the bottom. This page ends up being pretty easy most of the time, but we are basically out of decorative stuff. I've got this, and that's it. So it's gonna be a kind of shitty decorated page. I might honestly just use some of my other little decorative bits and bobs that I'm probably not going to get to use. I really didn't print enough little decorative elements for the whole shebang. Let's just do what we can with this. Alrighty friends, I think we are just about done with this page. It's a little bare, but that's okay. It's not a crime to be bare. It's not a crime to be a bear either. It's a pretty simple page, it's just a scrap page. We already did go over numbers, so we're going to go ahead and fill out our early pages, our challenge pages. Lastly but not leastly, we gotta fill in all of these pages at the back here. I've already filled in the reading tracker. I've been trying to get good about doing that daily. You'll notice that I also have most of March filled in, so that's good news for me. On our book clubs page, I'm sure we can fill in some more data with this. At the very least, I can check off what I have and haven't read. So as far as this page, I did in fact read A Talent for Murder, so a good old check mark on that. I did read Tremors in the Blood, but unfortunately, I didn't finish it until March, so I wasn't able to go to the meeting. I did read I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I did not read Beautiful Ugly. That was technically January's book. I fucked up this thing, but don't say anything about it. I didn't read You Are Fatally Invited. I couldn't find it at the library, so no book for me, I suppose. Next up is going to be our book battle page. The best book I read in... What month is it? February. The best book I read in February was Tell Me What You Did. So I think that is this sized one. Yes, indeed. We can lock that bad boy in. There we go.
It was okay. It was a 4-star. Nothing wrong with a 4 stars, the best book of the month, of course. So you guys will actually have to let me know if you want me to fill in through here in March, or if I should wait until my mid-year wrap up. Now we have our A to Z titles challenge. I've got a whole bunch of little books here. The issue with these is that I don't know which ones are titles and I don't know which ones are authors. We have I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Let the Right One In for L, of course. So starting with G over here for A Game in Yellow. Another book with a long ass name. I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This is a long title. Thankfully the author name is short, but every time I've tried to write this title in my journal, I haven't had enough space, so hopefully this is fine. That's my A to Z titles. We're looking pretty good, all things considered, actually. We're not even halfway through the year, but I think we are halfway through titles. Let me count real quick. 11 done for titles, so not quite halfway through. But we have a lot of ones that are difficult to get left, so we're gonna have to try and hit those intentionally. U, V, X, Y, Z, obviously. K is hard, Q is hard. So we're gonna do our best to hit these. I'm probably gonna have to try and like intentionally do at least one for the next few months, just to make sure I'm not falling behind. Authors, hopefully we're gonna be able to fill in a little bit more of this side. So we've got an S for Swanson, then we have an R for Reed. Yep, we're definitely filling in more of that side. And we've got an L for Lindqvist. I'll learn how to pronounce his name eventually. There are some author names that I find it kind of difficult, not kind of difficult, kind of surprising that I've had difficulty with in the past. I don't think I got an author with a T last name last year, which was weird because it's like, what do you mean? I can think of so many T last names, mostly like Thomas and Thompson, but come on, man, what the heck? I have a lot of these authors on my TBR again, and quite a few of them because I was so disappointed. I never know what the right thing is to do when like I've been disappointed by an author. Because at a certain point, I think you do have to kind of just be like, this author is not for me, and stop reading and rating their books. Because it's like, you're wasting your time, you know they're not for you, so why are you doing this to yourself, you know? So I think I give authors like 2 to 3 chances. So, well, Peter Swanson's book, I gave him like a 2.5. John Lindquist, I gave him a less than a 1. So it's like, these authors, I have other of their books on my TBR. I'm going to give them another couple chances because I've read books by authors I really liked that I didn't enjoy. But like, I enjoy giving authors a few chances, and I don't tend to be like, okay, well, I didn't like this one book, so all of their books must be horrible. I've never really had that experience, so I'm gonna give both of them another chance. As far as authors go, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 done. So again, we're gonna have to be really careful about these ones. Last year I was trying to be a bit too much of a stickler for difficult letters like X and Z and Q. So this year I'm gonna give myself a little bit of wiggle room. Generally the challenge says like X anywhere in the author's name, you know, so they could be like an Alex or something like that. So I'll allow myself to play around a little bit with the strictness of the rules on this one. So we have my Decades Challenge, and I know that Let the Right One In is getting placed in the Decades Challenge, I think in the 80s, but let me just double check that it is not in the 90s. And, oh, I was like, how did I just glue it in? And I have another one. It's because it's for a different section. I also need to fill in this section, but I don't have my phone on me. I'll be right back. Ah, wait, I might have deleted it off my phone. Hang on. Oh no. Hang on. So I delete these off my phone once I submit them to like my Mistillery challenge so that I don't keep them in my phone. Oh, please tell me I didn't delete them. Oh no. What have I done? Oh my God. That's not good. Why did I do that? Okay, let me think. So I managed to try and like remember deaths from each of the books. I'm sure that this isn't accurate. I think the number is higher for each of these, but this is my best guesstimate of the deaths per book. It was a bit of a low death average, but again, that's probably because I'm not remembering things. Like, I'm not remembering certain characters that had like dead parents or things like that. So, well, I guess that is a learning lesson for me to not do that again. I do have a new one for this one, and that is a new to you series. Apparently A Talent for Murder is a part of a series, but it's not the kind of series where like you need to read all the books, or you even need to like read books in order. You can basically read them in whatever order you want. It's kind of like Sherlock Holmes. So that one's getting a little slot in here. If you could actually fit in the box that I provided for you. Then I know that we have an entry for Oh the Horrors, because Let the Right One In is about vampires. For now, that's what I know that I'm locking in, at least. I don't have anything for new releases. I should be keeping a better eye on it. I get emails from like all of the big publishers about what books are being released. So I should be keeping an eye on it in terms of like what I'm interested in that's coming out in the next couple months. But I haven't been. I've been very bad about it. Book bingo. Let's see what we got. I did fill in some slots from last time because I forgot to fill in these slots from last time. But let's take a look at what I read this month and see if we have any bingos. Let the Right One In is going immediately and set in a different country. It's set in Sweden. And just so you remember, I'm not putting one book in more than one slot on each bingo card. I kind of feel like A Talent for Murder can go in Unhinged Woman Slay, because she is unhinged and she do be slaying. Let's see, A Game in Yellow. It's going in published in 2025 because it's coming out in August. I'm Thinking of Ending Things can get the long title award because every single time I've written it, it's been too long. Now for my horror, let's see. Let the Right One In, Let the Right One In can go in vampires. What other horror books did I read this month? A Game in Yellow is a horror book. I'm gonna give her the Unreliable Narrator Award. And then lastly, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Nope. All good. Sorry about the sirens. I live right next to, I feel like I say this all the time. I live next to an emergency vehicles depot. Specifically, I live next to a police car depot, but I'm sure that there's an ambulance depot / fire department probably like right up the road, because all the time it's going. All the time. I swear, it's like 4 times a day. Let's see, I can finally check some stuff off of my TBR, I think. Nothing here. Let the Right One In gets a little X. I won't do things that I read in March just yet. Really? I could have sworn I read more stuff off of my TBR. I am really going through my TBR in March because I promised myself that that I wouldn't add any new books to my TBR until I had finished at least 30 of the books that are currently on my TBR. So A Game in Yellow got marked off. That's it, only 2. Wow, good for me. I read quite a few in March, so I'm not that mad at myself. No DNFs this month, even though I really wanted to. No recommendations, books read. Here we go. Ha! I managed to fit it in the space. Ha ha ha. Okay, books read. Not a lot this month. Hopefully more next month. Technically I could put a new thing in series, but I'm actually not going to. All done. Let me do a little flip through of what we completed today while I send you into the outro. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. I upload these reading wrap-ups just about every month, so you'll get to know what I'm working on. I also post my reviews on Goodreads and Storygraph, so if you'd like to follow me there are links in the description. Also, you can follow me on all my other social media. I am After Plague pretty much everywhere. That would be Goodreads, Storygraph, Twitch, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, and I'm After_Plague on Twitter. I have an art shop. If you're interested in any of my art, you can find that through the link in the description, or you can also go to afterplagueart.com. I sell prints, bookmarks, stickers, and more, even some of my own short stories. So if you'd like to check that out, you can check it out through the link in the description, or once again, afterplagueart.com.
Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to heavens that you are reading some excellent books in this post-plague year, because this month was rough. Bye!